Hello and welcome back to module number 7. And in this module, I'm going to talk in the two sections I have. I'm going to talk about PHP and I'm going to break it down and try to fully understand what is PHP and why is it so powerful when we are talking about the server. Just a heads up. Module number 9, we're going to start to talk about MySQL and why is it so popular and what is the issue with MySQL. Module number 9, we are going to talk about security. And module number 10, we're going to sum up the class and try to help you to design or work with your project. This is the outline, and I hope it makes sense. So let's start with PHP, and that's the objective of today's class. Okay, so PHP, it's hypertext pre-processing, which means that it's connected to the server. It's operate on the server in compared to the HTML and the JavaScript that is based on the user browser. So it is the idea of the connection has to have a connection to the server in order for it to do that. So it relies on the revised PHP tags and it allowed us to run it. So it is the idea of interpreted language, which means the script paced at runtime and then can be compiled beforehand. So execution of the script has to be on the server side, and that's why we are not going to test it on our own desktop. We cannot do that. We need to upload it to the server to see the execution of it. So it is a source code not visible to the client. I don't see what you wrote, and you will not see a website that based on PHP, such as yahoo.com or any other, even Amazon, part of Amazon is PHP. So this is where we are going to see the idea of the code working on the server side. We are not exposed to, but what we will see is the implementation of the JavaScript in order for it to customize to our own experience. So it is very similar to C and C++. The idea that all PHP statement end with a semicolon. Again, all end with a semicolon. Each PHP script must be enclosed with a revised tag. Like we are familiar with the HTML, the same goes to the PHP. So the standard C and C++ and a shell comments, we are often write comments. Example, those can be spin multiple lines. This is a comment. This is not what the actual code shows. So in this case, we are going to write comments in order for other people to see and understand and share your comments with others so they will understand if your code is actually makes sense. So one of the things that we talked about in JavaScript is the idea of variables. So in PHP, variables must begin with the $sign. So it is case sensitive, and we have two types of variables, global and locally. The global variable can be used anywhere. Local variables are restricted to a function or a class, as we talked about that in JavaScript. A certain variable name reserved by PHP, for example, form variables such as $_post and $_get. Remember that in form, in HTML form. In this case, it is reserved, and it is basically can be applied to all aspects. When you do $@post or $_get, it will always get it. And then there is the issue of communication with the server variables. It's underlined dollar sign underscore server, and it usually goes like that. So variable use. Remember that we did that in JavaScript. In this case, in PHP, we are talking about dollar sign foo equal 25, which is numerical variable. And again, clarification and notes help me as a user to understand what's going on. And dollar sign bar equal hello is a string variable. So in this case, I can add manipulation or multiple calculation to the variables, and in this case the dollar foo is equal dollar foo multiplied by 7, or even I can do that with a string variables and say that can say invalid expression. So one of the things that you're going to see quite a lot is the echo. Echo is used the idea of putting up in front. So the issue is that it's typically used for its send data to the client's web server. Example. In this case, I hope you can see it better. I'll try to make it bigger a little bit. Hold on a second. View. Full screen. So in this case, I'm using echo, my first PHP script, and I close it, and I will embed it at it and as HTML. You cannot, I'll repeat, you cannot display that in your own browser on your desktop. You have to have it uploaded to the server. And I'm going to repeat that several times because, again, this is really the critical aspect of this lecture. The idea of how to apply that and how to involve that. So the syntax of echo is a string argument, and in practice, arguments are not passed in secrets. So since echo is a language of construct, it then actual function. So in this case, I can apply the echo, and notice in this script is that the echo 5 multiplied by 5 equal $foo outlines the $foo rather than replacing it with 25. So the string is a single quotes in this case, not interpreted or evaluate by the PHP. And this is true for both variables, the character escape sequence such as in, n, or //. So this is a good practice to you to start with. I know. I have to put it in. I am a statistical guy. I need to show that. But this is the idea of adding everything up, or automatic using everything in order for you to add things up. And this is how Google does that, or even Amazon add up your chart. You just add things up in order for you to calculate what the price is you're going to count for. Concatenation is the idea of join string into one. So I can join the string into one and say, okay, we have a first string, say hello. The second strip will say PHP. So what I will do is I will connect them together by a string 1. In the middle will be the quotation, and I will display that. I can do print or I can do echo in order for me to display that. If the string has a double quotation marks, it must remain within the visible. So it uses the black slash before the quotation marks to ignore or display them. Example, computer science, print, and that's how it will be displayed. Look at what happens. In the first, under the slash and after the slash, and then after the signs the slash double the black slash. So this is something that you need to be aware of and take yourself into the mode that how it's been displayed. Control structures are the structure within the language that allows us to control the flow of execution through the program or the script. So group into conditional structure, if else, and repetition structure, while loop. So in this case, I'm going to start with the idea of what we learn in JavaScript can be applied not directly, but the concept can be applied to the PHP. So in this case, I'm echo what is the variable is equal to 0, and if else, the variable foo is between 1 and 5, and else the echo variable is equal, and I will give it some value. So if else, in this case, if condition, if the user is John, the statement, hello John, else you are not John, and not then in PHP. So this is the idea of it. This is what it counts and how it play out. We learn about JavaScript and time display. So in this case, in $, data display equal date, and you give the date that you want to structure it, example year, month, or day, or opposite way, you can do that the same thing with the idea of what it stands for. So again, I can play if it's not Wednesday, if else, and so on. So I should have written here if Wednesday, because today is Wednesday and the issue today is Monday. So this is how it will work out. Okay, so again, month, day, and date, month, day, and day format symbols, how it display the day of the month, the day of the day of the day of the month, the day of the week, and the day of the week always can be applied to. So we can do 1, we can do 2, we can do 3. Okay. Back to defining functions. Functions in PHP are a grouping of statements that can be executed in a single unit. So the function definitions are the lines of code that make the function. The syntax of defining the function is the following. You start with, again, always start with the mark, the slash back, and with a with a question mark, PHP function name of, and then give some parameters to it and the statement. So the function must be defined before it been called. So a function name and what it does, and it does not return type to is specific. Unlike a variable, function names are not case sensitive, so it can be capitalized or not capitalized. For example, for function. So first of all, I'm calling the function foo, and I'm going to say $argument _1 and $argument number _2. And now I'm going to do my function. The function is going to say if argument 2 is equal to argument 1 multiplied by argument 2, then return the argument 2. This is a function. So the result is that you can apply, store the function, echo the function, or output 36, and that's how it's been done. So a function statement do the actual work of the function must contain within a function braces. So the idea here is, again, as we learn it in JavaScript, which is really similar in that sense, is that company display company name, company 1, company 2, company 3, and I will do the echo into display company 1, company 2, and company 3. So in this case, course technology display company name, course technology, and that's what we will call in order for you to do that. Returning value is return a value to the statement that it's called the function. Not all functions return values. This is something that's really important. So $, again, return value, the average numbers, and 1, 2, 3, and the function average numbers. I will add up to the sum numbers, the result, and return, and then after that, $, result, in order for you to apply it to it. So you can pass a function by a value or by reference. You can have a function that is passed by value is a local copy of the variable, and that's only local, it's not global, and have to remember that. This is two type of variables that is often being used in PHP. A function that is passed by reference is a reference to the original function. So understanding the scope of the variable scope is when your program describes a variable to be used. A variable scope can be either global or local. And here is my definition of global. Global variable is one that declares outside the function and it is available to all parts of your program. It doesn't matter if it's right now in your code or later on, it is a global, and as a result you can use it all the time. Local variable is inside a function that is only available within the function which declares it. So this is the idea behind it. If we are talking about global variable, we define what is a global variable and its echo and how it be displayed. And so in this case, the echo will be this example. Another way of us to do using is auto globals, which includes various predefined global array, and it can be called auto globals or super globals. And the idea is that it contains client, server, and environment information that can be used in your script. So it is the idea of the array of whose elements are referred with the key components instead of the index number. So in this case, auto globals is, in that case, a cookie can be auto global, environment, a file, get, post, as we learn in the form, request, server, seasons, and the idea what it is. So again, the idea of get is default method of submitting a form. The $_get appends form data in one string, and it usually goes to that. Or post allows you to access the variable as we learn about the forms. So in this case, we are going to learn how to apply specific posts, and we are going to create a page in PHP that will submit the information to your MySQL, and you're going to add to this page another page that will say to you, thank you for submitting the form. So this is a process that I want you to start thinking about when you are designing your final website for the class. Making decisions. Decision making or flow control is the process of determining the order in which the statement execute in the program, and the special type of PHP statement used in making decision are called decision-making statement or structure. So the idea that, again, we are going back to the if condition. So used to execute specific code if the evaluation of the condition expression returns a value of true. So the syntax of simple if statement is if conditional expression, and it contains three parts. The word if, the condition expressed enclosed within this statement, and the execution statement. So the command block is a group of statements contained within a set of this execution. So each command block must have an opening brace and closing brace, as we learn in PHP. So again, in this example, this is the execution of an if condition with two echo that will display if it is condition is true, and it will evaluate that, and if it will evaluate that, it will say what it is equal to. So each of those lines will be printed in order for us to get better sense what's going on. If else is a little bit more complex, as we learned it previously, and in JavaScript it includes the clause is if else statement. So the else clause execute when the condition is within if and else statement is false. So in this case we are leaving it as it is, and the syntax is if the statement else statement, and we're going to execute it if today is Tuesday, today is Monday, the echo is today is Monday, else the today is not Monday. So this is where we are going to play with it in order for us to do that. One of the things that we learn also in JavaScript is the nest of if and if else. When one decision-making statement is contained with another decision-making statement, they are referred to as the nest, which means that it has some structure. So in this case, if the sales total is smaller than 50, and if the sales total is smaller than 100, then the echo is between 150 to 100, and it is inclusive. And this is something that we can apply and communicate that to the server in order for us to do that. The last example is the switch statement, which is control program flow by the execution of a specific set of statements depending on the value of the expression. In this case, we are going to use the case label, and it is a specific value that contains one or more statements that they execute if the value of the case label matches the value of the switch statement expression. So it consists of the following components: the switch keywords, the expression, the opening brace, one or more case labels, the execution, executable statement, the break, the default, and the closing brace. So in this case, the switch, the case, the default, and the break. And in order for us to do that, and I outlined for you what it will apply in order for you to default and apply that. So in this case, again, I'm doing it the case of video cards, echo the video cards range between, and the echo and how it being applied. We can also do repetition. Repetition, I mean, until it will be clear, we can continue the if condition again and again until it will provide us. Example in a loop is that if a user asks to enter a website and it says, no, you did the wrong username or password, it is a loop that allowed us to do that. The issue is how many loops are you allowing the user to use in order for you to do that. Using the PHP, you can use a control structure that execute the statement or a series of statements whilst a specific condition is true until specific condition become true. And this is something that you can apply to. So there are 4 types of loop statement, while do while for and for each statement in order for you to apply that. So to test the condition prior to the execution of the serious statement at each of the loop, so the syntax is while the condition expression statement, as long as the condition expression evaluates to true, the statement or the command block that flow exclusive and repeatedly. While each repetition of the loop statement is internal, the while statement keeps repeating until the condition expression evaluates to false. So the counter is a variable that increase or decrease within each iteration of the loop statement. As I said, there's some of the website that ask you for username and password, give you a little bit amount of how many attempts you can do until they block you away. So again, this is how the execution of it, and this is how it will provide. So again, this is the issue, count to 10 while the count is smaller than 0, echo count BR, and it will give us different layoff, and so we have lift off. And this is how it be done. So again, this is a good example. I hope that makes sense to you. I hope that you will understand how the structure goes, and we can also use the infinitive loop, which is a statement never ends because its condition expression never falls. So if you look in that condition, you can do a while statement in order for you to execute, in order for you to apply to it, and ability to do that. In my example, days of the week as array, and I'll say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I will count 0, do, and it will display an output of the days of the week spread stripped off in the browser. When we use the for statements, it's combined the idea of the condition evaluation and the update of the loop into a single statement. So the repeat statement of a serious statement as long as a given condition evaluate to true. So if the condition expression evaluates to true, the for statement execute and continue to execute repeatedly until it evaluates as false. So it also can include a code counter and changes its value each iteration. So the syntax for the for statement, for an update statement. So in this case, example, fast food array, if we count smaller than 5 and plus $ count, and in this case that's what it will do. For each is that the idea of a loop through the elements of the array do not require counter, instead provide you with specifically array expression within a set of settings following for the each keywords. So the syntax for each statement is for each and example, and this is the for each day of the week as a $ day in order for it to apply. And this is the output of this code. So functions, what I wanted to get out of this lecture is functions are groups of statements that you can execute as a single unit. We learn about autoballs that contains client, server, and environment information that can be used in your script. We also learn about decision making or flow control, that is a process to determine the order in which the statement execute in your program. We talked about the if conditions. And we define the lines that make the function be called, and And we are also gave the idea that a function also passed by value by a local copy of a variable, but it also can have a global, which is also referred in the entire set. So a function is passed by reference, is a reference to the original variable in comparison to a global variable that declare outside the function that is available to all parts of your program, and a local variable declared inside the function, it's only a variable within a function that you declared. And so again, the idea of the if statement as decision making or flow control and how it play out. And I gave you a summary so you will remember that. I will also give you a direct reference to it with that include and how to apply that. So this is it for now. I hope you enjoyed that. And next slide will be a little continue our story of PHP, and I hope it make more sense. And second module will come, second section will come shortly.